Good, happy Sunday morning, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this edition of Politics with Riley King. Let's begin with your edition of Politics with Riley King. First up, back in New Hampshire, Moulton discussed his vision for the country. Democrat presidential candidate Seth Moulton was back in New Hampshire on Saturday, talking with voters about his vision for the country. The Massachusetts congressman sees himself appealing to more voters than some of the Democrats running. He's progressive on issues like gun laws and climate change, but he says his views on the economy make him more of a democratic capitalism. At a house party in Salem, a voter asked Moulton if he and other members of Congress who are running for president are putting their district at risk of losing their seat to Republicans. The Iraq War veteran said his campaign is about service. Moulton said Congress should at least be debating the impeachments of Attorney General William Barr and President Donald Trump. Former U.S. Ambassador to Saudi Arabia James Smith and his wife Janet, chair of the Salem Democratic Town Committee, hosted Moulton at their home. After climate change policy rule out, Beto O'Rourke to make third New Hampshire campaign visit May 9th to the 11th. Democratic presidential candidate to visit Salem, Hooksett, Hanover, and Bedford. Walensky charges Sununu violated state constitution by vetoing death penalty bill. Democratic attorney says state Supreme Court created precedent requiring executive council advice prior to vetoes. Executive council Andrew Walensky charged Friday that Governor Chris Sununu violated the state constitution by failing to seek the advice of the council before vetoing legislation to repeal the death penalty. Walensky is citing an advisory opinion issued by the New Hampshire Supreme Court last May on questions posed by Sununu and the council regarding the constitutionality of a new voting law, House Bill 1264. Governor Sununu vetoes death penalty repeal bill. Veto made despite veto-proof margins in legislature. A showdown in the New Hampshire legislature is coming after the governor vetoed a bill Friday to repeal the state's death penalty. Governor Chris Sununu called the repeal an injustice as he signed the veto in a building named after Manchester police officer Michael Briggs, who was killed in the line of duty in 2006. The man convicted of killing Briggs, Michael Addison, is New Hampshire's only death row inmate. The governor was flaked by members of law enforcement departments and surrounded by Briggs's family members. The last time an execution was carried out in the state was 1939. Supporters of the death penalty said that's proof that in New Hampshire it is used only when appropriate. With Briggs' widow standing behind him, Sununu vetoed the bill, which passed the House and Senate with enough votes to override the veto. The governor said he hopes that before the legislature meets to hold the override vote, legislatures reconsider their position. But lawmakers said it's unlikely opinions in the legislature will change. A group gathered Thursday at the State House to try to convince the governor to change his mind and let the bill become law. The group said capital punishment is costly and runs the risk of killing innocent people. Hickenlooper rolls out plan to rescue, not replace American capitalism. Former Colorado governor making first major policy speech in New Hampshire. In his first major policy address since announcing his candidacy for president, former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper on Friday came to New Hampshire to lay out an economic plan that he said will rescue and reboot American capitalism, but not replace it with a move toward socialism. Ask the Candidate your question during Conversation with the Candidate series. The next candidate that will be on WMUR for a Conversation with the Candidate series will be Amy Cullen-Bulcher, and she will be at WMUR News 9 tomorrow evening for her event, and that starts at 7 p.m. And Conversation with the Candidate series runs on Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. And let's see what candidates are visiting New Hampshire this coming week. Michael Benintendi will be in New Hampshire on Monday tomorrow. He'll be in Nashua for a host roundtable event. Also, Julian Castro will be in Berlin on Monday, and also he'll be in Newmarket and in Dover. Those are the two candidates that will be in New Hampshire tomorrow. President Trump amplifies far-right voices in protest on Facebook ban. President Donald Trump took to Twitter on Saturday to blast social media platforms for unfairly marginalizing conversation voices days after Facebook banned several so-called extremist users from its platform. And that does it for this edition of Politics with Riley King. I hope you all enjoyed this Sunday edition of Politics with Riley King. I'll see you back here next Sunday for another edition of Politics with Riley King. Have a great rest of your Sunday, everyone, and goodbye.